War Eagle, War Rapport family, I'm your host, C-Dub, and we have a special treat for you guys tonight. JG Tate of AuburnSports.com comes on to chop it up with us about all that's going on in this messy landscape of college football. And of course, we're going to discuss the latest that's been going on with Auburn football over the past week, Big Cat Weekend, media days, and the like. So guys, do me a favor, get ready, get your weight up, because tonight we are entering the war room.
You are now listening to the War Rapport. Wednesday night War Room. Brought to you by AuburnSports.com. Ike Jones. B. Will. C. Mike G. Let's go!
War Eagle, Auburn family, and welcome to the latest Wednesday Night War Room, brought to you, of course, in partnership with AuburnSports.com. Guys, you know they're your source for all things recruiting and everything related to Auburn athletics, so you know what to do. Please be sure to check them out at AuburnSports.com. Also, if you are new to the Wednesday Night War Room and the War Rapport, our live shows, here's what you need to do. You need to smash that like button, of course. You need to also drop a War Eagle if you're Auburn family in the comment section. And if you're not Auburn family, you need to drop your city and state in the comments so we know where you're streaming from. Welcome, by the way. And something that we'll need you guys to do for us. You found us, so help others find us. Please be sure to share our videos. Add us on Twitter if you're a Twitter user. Also, if you're on Facebook, you can use hashtag Get Your Weight Up. That helps us out a ton. We got some announcements coming up, and Mike G can help us with that, sir.
Hey, listen, become an insider. I promise you, it's worth it. It's worth its weight in gold. So $5.99 a month will get you there. We've got an exciting season slate that we're going to be bringing you guys with film reviews, more building rapports. We got For the Record out there. It's just a lot of insider content. I'm especially excited about our game day experience, where we will be with you pregame, halftime, and postgame, talking about what we just saw, as well as the regular weekend tailgate on Sunday, so that you can get our live fan reactions on Saturday night, and our well thought out and articulated thoughts after the game on Sunday. Mm-hmm. So become an insider so you can get access to all that stuff we got coming. Our merch store is live. You can find this link in the About section of our YouTube channel. It's a great way to get your weight up. Also, we are partnered with the Lee County Humane Society to save puppies. You guys know what we're doing here. I talk about it literally every week. I have a rescue. Ike has a rescue. We love our animals. They add so much joy to our life. By donating, you can help us help the Lee County Humane Society in their mission to help other people find that same joy. So you can find this link in the About section of our YouTube channel as well. And then tonight, we are giving away a Pat Sullivan drawing. Hashtag Heisman 7. This is done by our guy, James Coleman. That's War Eagle in the comments. Very talented artist. He sent us some drawings of some players that we are getting signed to give away to you. But you can get this Pat Sullivan drawing. Hashtag Heisman 7 in the comments to enter that drawing. You guys know the drill. At the 1 hour mark, we'll draw to give that away.
Welcome, JG. How are you, sir?
I am awesome. Love being here with you guys without Ike, but I still love the three of you guys. And we got a lot to discuss. I am drinking tonight. I tend to drink on your show.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you bring that out of me. I probably will be drinking anyway. Probably.
Well, we do have a question. We do have a question from James Coleman, War Eagle. Shout out to you, my brother. What is that you have there?
This is Calumet 14. Difficult to find in the state of Alabama, but maybe not difficult where you guys are. This was hooked up with me by my friend Ryan M., who's a bunker member. And we're drinking that out of a glass. It says the Brain Drain Commodore on that bad boy.
Nice.
Let's drink up. Tell us in the chat what you guys are drinking tonight. Maybe you're thinking to yourself, hey, it's Wednesday. I don't need to be drinking. Maybe you do.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to have you on. It seems like now that we formed this relationship, it's even more awesome having you on to hang out with us and just talk about Auburn football and what's been happening in college football, man. Listen, it's some drama going on concerning two schools in a conference that seems to be struggling by the day. As a matter of fact, it just got released that the Big 12 commissioner sent a cease and desist letter to ESPN alleging that they have been basically conspiring on their downfall, so to speak, just to put it in so many words. So yeah, JG, like what are your thoughts about the news of OU, Oklahoma, Texas jumping ship, wanting to be a part of the SEC? What are your thoughts about that move?
I think this is huge for the SEC. The SEC is the preeminent spot for college football in the country, and I think by adding Texas and Oklahoma, they just enhance their position like that. But I think that we're not done here. I think the fact that Texas and Oklahoma are fleeing puts pressure on the rest of the Big 12 to do something, and when that starts happening, that starts to shake up potentially the Pac-12, the ACC, and whatever Notre Dame wants to do. Hey, I'm Catholic, but I'm still kind of bothered by the way Notre Dame fronts like they're actually something when they're kind of not. I don't know where they fit in, but I'll tell you what, the SEC is very, very sharp. And if you had any questions about Greg Sankey and kind of how ruthless or how conniving he was, because Mike Slive was that guy. Like Mike Slive was the kind of guy that would just absolutely assassinate you right in front of your face. He was a killer, great for the SEC. Sankey's not been that guy so far. He's kind of works behind the scenes. But, man, this heist was very Slive-esque, and it was outstanding. It's going to help the league unbelievably so. I bet you once they enter the league, and I think it's going to be 2023 myself. You hear a lot of 2025, but I think they can find a way to get in earlier. It's going to immediately bump up the payouts for Auburn and everybody else 20 to 30% right there. And so we're talking, 10, 15, $20 million more. Dude, that's a win. That's a dub. That's a dub for every program at Auburn, every athlete at Auburn. I think it's great.
So if you're A&M, clearly you don't feel that way. What are your thoughts about A&M? I mean, basically what we're seeing out of them is PTSD from their times in the Big 12. But what are your thoughts about their sentiments and their feelings towards Texas, quote unquote, big brother coming to the SEC?
Yeah, I think it's exactly what you said. It's PTSD. They fled Texas by going to the SEC. Slive allegedly told them verbally, always get it in writing. You know what I'm talking about, Mike G. Always got to get it in writing.
That's right.
That Commissioner Slive said that there will be no other teams from Texas in our league. Dude, he's gone. And if you didn't get it in writing, that's on you, bro. They're just scared, and they don't want to have to split up recruits in Texas with the Longhorns because they lose their fair share. And if they're on equal footing and they can't tell recruits, hey, SEC, Big 12, make your own choice. Now they're going to have to go head-to-head in the same league, and they don't want to do that. But my response to that is just let's get it done. If you're Texas A&M, they got a lot of money. They got a lot of history. They have a good coach. Some would argue a great coach. I'm not sure that I would. Go out there and ball up, and let's see what you can do. That's what I have to say.
Talk to me, Mike G. I know you hate Texas with everything in your being. Go ahead. Let's hear the talking points, sir. Go ahead.
Man, I won't go into their fan base. Listen, everything JG has said is absolutely correct. From a financial standpoint, great for the league. For the whole of college football, I'm not sure that this is such a good thing. We got a 12-team playoff coming. And I already feel like if we had a 12-team playoff, 4 teams from the SEC would have made it hands down, right? Florida, Georgia, Texas A&M, and Bama all make a 12-team playoff last year. Now you add Texas and Oklahoma. And, as SEC alum, we hear every year, we're tired of the SEC. I mean, if you had SEC fatigue before, you're going to you're not going to make it in this new world of college football with Texas and with Texas and Oklahoma coming over to the league, right? I could see half the playoff being SEC teams. I just wonder with the rules that they're talking about putting in for the playoff, what does that do? Because they were talking about for the top Big Five conferences, just putting, hey, Big Five, highest rated conference winners from the Big Five all make the playoffs, plus your group of 5. So 6 teams. And you eliminate the Big 12. And what does it do to that? Like, what does this playoff look like with Texas and Oklahoma in the SEC? I hate Texas, and my reasons are petty. They're petty. I'll admit. So I'm not a big fan of this, but I do understand how it could be good for the conference. As far as college football is concerned, I'm not so sure.
We got a question here. Shout out to Auburn Dad. Good to have you on. He asks, JG, what are your feelings about OU and UT having to survive the shark-infested waters of the SEC when they have been big fish in Big 12 Guppy's pond? In other words, how are they going to fare?
That's a great question, Auburn Dad for life. That guy's an absolute legend, by the way. Yeah, I think it's a great question. And one we haven't spent much time talking about, I guess, media folks, we keep talking about how this is going to benefit or hurt SEC or the college football world. But, hey, man, can Texas and Oklahoma keep it going in the SEC? I got questions. I mean, particularly with Texas, because they're still kind of hypey, but they haven't been good for a while. I mean, I guess they've been kind of good, but
they couldn't keep it going in the Big 12.
Ever since they've shown Mac Brown the door, they've been kind of
They couldn't keep it going in the Big 12.
What is the equivalent team in the SEC to what they're doing? Is it Florida?
It's probably
Tennessee.
Isn't it us?
Is it Auburn?
No.
How is it not?
We've been
it might be Auburn.
Be Will, you might be right. Be Will.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
All right, they win the championship. They kind of got robbed a little bit because they got hurt in the championship game. All right, so since then they have not been back to a championship and they have not made a playoff. I will grant you that. However,
that's all I'm saying.
That's all I'm saying.
We have done something successful since they win.
With fortuitous bounces, right? Not that
at least we got there for it to bounce. They can't even get there.
They can't get. I'm not telling you that they are better than us. I just think who's us, Texas, and Michigan are all the same team for the last 8 years. I think we're all the same team. Promise. You expect the coach to do better because of something they did before, and then nothing. I don't think I'm not so down. That's why I'm not so down on Texas like everybody else. They are it would be like if you threw Florida on our schedule every year. They have enough success in their history to be formidable, but before Dan Mullen, they weren't able to put it all together. Yeah, I'm kind of with Mike. I think they kind of sink, honestly, because what recruits were they not getting? What recruits did they have access to that they weren't getting? I think Texas was getting talent. They just didn't have the coaches.
Yeah, there's some similarities to us now that I'm thinking about it. They have people meddling with the program. Let's see. Okay. The more I think about it, I can see it a little bit. I can see that.
We just got a lot less money, which makes that's actually bad look for Texas. We got way less resources than Texas does, and we're about the same. So yeah,
I think Texas. I'm all for Texas getting their fair share of humble pie. Like again, I want them to come to the SEC and get polished early and often in our conference. Because go ahead, Mike.
The rules to the game don't change. The teams, the schools that hire the best coaches rise to the top. I'm not so sure Texas has done that since Mac Brown. Right?
Yeah, I'm looking at their records right now. I mean, 7-3, 8-5, 10-4, 7-6, 5-7, 5-7, 6-7.
Wow.
So that's more like Tennessee to me. That's not all.
Yeah. So the 5 and 7s were aggressive, right? Like that. We haven't had any 5 and 7.
That's right.
I will grant you, we have not hit that low, but their highs are kind of similar. Like, their back is going to be good, and they're nothing. Like 2017 was our high ever since Gus's first year, and 2 years before that and 2 years after that, virtually nothing.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They need to hire better first and foremost. Yeah. Right. If they want to compete in any conference, they just need to hire better.
Agreed.
Beyond that, it's gonna be tough. I mean, you're coming to the SEC, and you now maybe have a better recruiting pitch when you haven't done much on the field, but development still is going to sell out to a lot of these kids, man. Like, I mean, you can go to Vandy and play in the SEC, right? Like, I mean, they may not be developing kids like that, but my point is that I don't think there's a whole lot of extra incentive for recruits to go to a program just because they're in the SEC if you still are showing that you don't know what to do with talent and you're not winning. Again, I think it's a black mark on them. You weren't winning in the Big 12. It's been a one-man show with Oklahoma for a while. Now,
they're going to have to adjust. They got to adjust how they play too, Mike G.
Right.
I mean, Oklahoma's really good offensively, but defensively they don't have the dudes, I don't think, to consistently stop teams like Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Georgia that run the football and grind your face. They don't face a lot of that.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I still don't think that the way they develop talent on offense in the SEC, they're going to have much of a challenge making a 12-team playoff, even in the SEC schedule. I'm much higher on Oklahoma joining the conference than I am Texas, right? Just because, I mean, look at the last 3 QBs they put out are all in the NFL, starting on NFL teams. It's really hard to argue with their development process so far. Texas is just a different story. They bring a lot of bravado, is what they bring. So the money will be great for everybody. I have no doubt that all the rich people who are going to get richer because of this are going to be super happy. But the division realignment is the other side of this that I think I'll be interested to see how that pans out, because you're going to maybe restore some traditional rivalries and destroy some others.
Well, that brings us to what we talked about last week. And JG, we did a mock-up. We did a mock-up of what we think this could potentially look like. Of course, this isn't anything set in stone. These are just our thoughts on what this could potentially look like as it pertains to the fallout of conference realignment as a result of those 2 schools joining the SEC. And here goes. So you see out west, Oklahoma, Texas, A&M, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, LSU, Arkansas. And at the bottom is Mizzou coming over from the east where they probably never should have been. Over in the east is now Auburn and Alabama. That's what we potentially see in the SEC. What are your thoughts? Is this realistic? Do you see anything different here?
I don't think it will go this way. If I was going to do divisions, I would do them just like this. So I don't have any issue at all with the graphic itself, but I think it's going to end up being 14 pods, west, north, south, and east. And that ensures that you get to play a wider variety of teams. It is going to sacrifice some of the rivalries, not the Iron Bowl and not the Deep South with Georgia. That's not going to be sacrificed, but some of the other little smaller ones you may not see as much. I do like the pod setup, and I do think it matters to fans to be able to go on the road somewhat often and see these other places. For Auburn people, it's going to be like Missouri. It's going to be like Vanderbilt, so you can go and laugh at them. It's so you can go to Kentucky and maybe see what they're doing up there. I went to Kentucky last time Auburn played up there, and I had a great time. Now I'm a Kentucky graduate, but I don't really care anymore. I mean, I left there 25 years ago. It was just fun to go somewhere different and see different people. I like going to Vanderbilt, too. It's a very quiet place to work. I love that about it. And I love going to their Commodore walk, and it's like me and, a couple moms and dads. Like, for real. It's fun. It's fun to go see other things. So the pod format, I think, will allow that to happen, and I don't think you have to sacrifice a lot in terms of those really important rivals you got to have.
Shout out to Walt. Appreciate you, buddy. Can Auburn keep up with the spending of UA, Georgia, Florida, Oklahoma, Texas, and LSU? What are your thoughts?
The answer is yes. But the reality is that hasn't been happening, and I cannot figure out why. And I think this is at the crux of what's wrong with what's troubling Alan Greene, who I think is a great dude. Love him. I know he's been on your show. You guys like him too. He's a quality human being. At the same time, he's a very unpopular AD at Auburn, and there's people with big budgets. There's people with small budgets. There's people who are new. There's people who are old. all of them are upset with him for one reason or another. And so at some point, you got to conclude he may be a really good dude, but he's not doing a great job as an AD. I think there's some legitimate concerns about his seaworthiness going forward, and part of it is the spending. I don't understand why he won't spend more. I don't understand why he was cutting budgets 10% before COVID. And I think a lot of other people are wondering the same thing. That's the reason the general is in the athletic department right now, halfway running the show. It's a weird situation, but this is Auburn.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting outspent. That's for sure. I mean, Alabama and Georgia spent, over like $3 million on recruiting in the 2019 cycle.
Yeah. Well, Auburn spent a bunch to send Gus Malzahn home or to Orlando.
And we were spending a lot on the coaching staff that was here before they even cut the check.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
If you take the difference between what Gus was making and Harsin is making, and you just put it into recruiting, that catches us up a lot.
And they're spending more on recruiting now. I will say that. The enterprise itself is a lot bigger. There's more people working in recruiting. And Auburn put together Big Cat Weekend last weekend with like 2 weeks of notice. And the recruits and the coaches were stunned by how good it was, by how well put together it was. So Auburn's doing some work.
We'll talk about Big Cat and get your thoughts on how that unfolded. Talk a little bit recruiting with you later on, JG. Shout out to Corey Dub. Good to have you on, buddy. Appreciate that. On the road tonight. JG's blonde tips are amazing. And by the way, in case anyone didn't know, Virginia absolutely double dribble.
No doubt about it.
Yes, they do.
100%.
So we had a question early on. Someone asked, where does Mizzou and A&M go from here? Do they take their ball and go home and go somewhere else? I don't see that happening. But what are your thoughts about what they do? How upset is A&M, and are they willing to leave the SEC based off of a broken verbal agreement?
Yeah, I think we got lied to. I think A&M's really mad for the reasons you explained earlier, and I don't think Missouri's upset at all. I think Missouri would vote to include those two new teams today or tomorrow. I think A&M was desperate to try to find some people that were on their team, and they said Missouri was on their team, and Missouri is not on their team. Missouri, I'm told, will vote to approve Texas and Oklahoma tonight, tomorrow, whenever.
Yeah.
No problem there.
What about Arkansas?
I'm told the only team that cares at all is A&M. That's it. It's 13
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So hold up, JG. Let me ask you this: preference-wise, you want divisions or do you want pods?
I want pods.
So you want them. So why no divisions? What is it about? You want to go to different places, but don't you want to see Bama and OU be like the number one, like that be their cross-division rival every year? Like, I want to see that. I want them to pencil in a guaranteed slugfest every year, honestly, so Bama has a better chance of getting knocked off. That's just me, though.
I hear what you're saying, B. Will, but I'm old enough. I'm older than you guys. I remember when Oklahoma sucked. I remember when Alabama sucked. And that rivalry, I don't think will stay hot all the time. It is currently hot, yes. The Iron Bowl is going to stay hot because those kids don't like each other. And Auburn and Georgia is going to be hot because those kids don't like each other. But to me, Alabama and Oklahoma, I don't know. Let's just pod it.
Yeah.
That's just my view of it. And I just like moving around. I like going different places. And my friends that are just casual fans, Kentucky fans, Missouri fans, well, Kansas fans too. They like going to see different places. So let's keep them happy. Let's keep them spending. Let's keep them moving around.
Got a question, kind of related to the new coming Texas. Shout out to you, Jeremy. Appreciate the question. Can Sark hold it together? Can he prove that he can do it now that he's back in the SEC waters? I was surprised he actually has comprised an SEC staff. He pulled some guys from SEC programs to coach with them. So they're familiar with the conference, but can he get the job done at Texas in a new conference? What are your thoughts?
I think that he can get it done in the conference, in a tougher conference, which he's going to be facing in a couple of years. But I think what he's really trying to say is, can Sarkeesian stay sober long enough to make that happen? And I'm not going to touch that. My friend Torrey Hunter from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, he would say that's a hot tamale, and hot tamale on that one.
Turn of a behavior pattern. Yeah. Nah, listen, I'm not rooting for him to beat Auburn. But I am rooting for him to at least get past and slay that demon and keep it slayed, as far as I'm concerned. So, good luck to him unless he plays us. So, it's pretty much that. Guys, we got anything else? Any other questions we got about conference?
Who's Texas's DC? That I want to know what type of ship Sark is running up there because I never found that out.
Matthew McConaughey. All right.
Got it.
Yeah.
Full kegs. Cool.
I had an epic rant about that also being one of the reasons that I hate Texas.
So he hired Montana State's head coach to be he's the co-defensive coordinator and inside linebackers coach.
All right.
So I don't know much. I don't follow football that far up there.
Hey, one point I want to make. Steve Bradley said in the chat over here, you can forget that OU Bama every year. Cupcake schedule will prevent that. He's got a point. Alabama, you could. I'm not really a black helicopter guy, but I'm going to be one right here. Everything that happens with the SEC, I feel like it's got to be cleared with Alabama. So they don't want to have to fight Oklahoma every year. They'll find a way to not fight Oklahoma every year. They'll find a way to play Vandy every year. They'll find a way to play Kentucky when they're crappy. And they'll find a way to play South Carolina or Mississippi State or some goober team. I'm telling you, you can book it. They always get their way.
I'll tell you the other kind of thing, in that vein is that if I'm playing in a 16-team SEC with Oklahoma and Texas, I feel like I have almost zero incentive to schedule some crazy non-conference game to kick off my season.
Right.
At all. Like, what is the advantage of playing that game? There's none, zero. You got Oklahoma and Texas in the conference. And so for the first few years, that's going to feel like extra bowl games to a lot of people, seeing matchups that, we would only see at bowl time with them joining. So, we've had some really, really good college football kickoff games in opening weekend. And you take a bunch of good teams and you incentivize them from playing that game. Like, what do they need it for?
I think what you'll start seeing, Mike G, is starting the season with a conference game.
Yep,
you probably start seeing more of that game one, as opposed to scheduling it out of conference where, the wear and tear, like, again, to your point, there's really no point of doing that if you got a stacked conference. No. So I wouldn't be surprised to see us go that route. We actually kind of started it last year in COVID when we had a straight conference schedule. But I'd be curious to see if we go that route because, to your point, there's no point.
Do we get an extra conference game?
That's what
I think that's a done deal. I mean, that's going to be
it's going to be an extra conference game.
Definitely.
So, that's a lot of, and then 2 years later, or in the same year that this possibly happens, a 12-team playoff.
Yeah.
For 4 teams in the SEC, that's going to be a very, very long season.
I just don't know if this thing's over. That's all I'm saying about that.
That's what I wanted to get to with Barney Knight. He shout out to you, brother. Is the SEC really looking to get up to 20 teams? Because I've heard some other schools' names be thrown out. I mean,
yeah. Well, I would like to introduce you at this point to the brand new commissioner and president of the NCAA, Greg Sankey.
Yeah.
Right.
Of NCAA football, at least.
Yeah, right.
Here's that, man.
I'm just saying he's going to be running. He's running college football at that point.
Sankey said carefully the other day that we don't go looking for people; they come to us. And Texas and Oklahoma did come to the SEC, so he's telling the truth.
Yeah.
But a lot of people come to him, and a lot of times he says, "Oh, we're not looking to move," which generally means it's not you, it's me. I mean that's why when ugly girls come up to you in the bar, and of course that's happened to me a bunch. You kind of say, "Hey, I got a girlfriend," even if you don't. You see what I'm saying? Kind of like that.
Yeah.
We're in an era now where I think a lot of teams, hot chicks, good teams, are now kind of worried. And I want to bring up one, for instance, Clemson. They're looking around. They've got their eyes open. Dan Radakovich is the AD there. He's a very bright individual. He should be the AD at Auburn, but we're not going to get into that. He's got his eyes open. He's got his eyes open because he's in a league that's kind of, I don't know if it's really great. With the SEC beefing up here, the ACC is starting to look kind of like a minor league conference. Now, I know you guys, basketball purists, are like, wait, what? I'm not saying basketball. I'm saying all sports, football in particular. The ACC is essentially a one-team league, right? Because Florida State's terrible now. Maybe they get better with all their social media greatness. I don't know. Clemson's coming into this with their eyes open. And if they feel like it would benefit them to get into the SEC, you better believe that Radakovich will make a call to Birmingham and see what's up. I'm just saying.
Man, you can Clemson the SEC.
I'm just saying. Okay. Well, they make sense culturally, right? I mean, Clemson is an SEC team, SEC program.
Yeah, it's Auburn with a lake.
It is. It's Auburn with a lake. The people are great. Yeah. They have a lot of support. They have great teams across the board in general. Awesome place to go. It's very hilly though if you're there to walk. And they have a graveyard like right outside the stadium. I know this because I walked through it. Great place to go visit. So let's say they had Clemson and maybe, I don't know, Florida State.
I heard Florida State's name get thrown out there.
They'll keep their eyes open. I'm just saying, everybody's eyes are up right now. Everybody's eyes are up. Heads up.
Let me ask this question real quick. So with the 12-team playoff, a lot of fans were excited about the possibility that we get to see some of those group of 5 schools finally make the playoff, right? So we might actually see an undefeated UCF or Boise State in the playoff. I mean, we've seen teams like Utah run the bigger conferences, essentially acknowledging that they could not make it from where they were at. I think Utah was in the Mountain West, Boise State at one point. What does this super conference do to those schools' chances of actually making the playoff without joining a bigger conference?
I don't know, man. I think they're in trouble. I mean, maybe with the expanded, they get a shot if they go undefeated, but yeah, the margin of error is going to be very slim. And listen, man, if you're going to Boise State, you got to know that going in.
Yeah.
Is the Big 12 dead in your opinion? Do they expand and fall behind the other major conferences?
Yeah. What do you think? What teams can they pick up to save this? Without Texas and Oklahoma? I
think they're going to have to recede a little bit. I don't think they can stay on the level they were. And you know what the mistake they made is that they didn't get in with ESPN. We let off the show. C-Dub was talking about Bowlesby getting the cease and desist. Like the reason they're doing that is because ESPN doesn't care about the Big 12. They care about the SEC. Yeah. And they had a chance at one time to get in with them, and they didn't. They chose not to. So that's what happened. I think they're going to have to recede. I think some more people are going to bounce, maybe to the Big 10, maybe to the Pac-12, and then they're going to have to start adding people like Boise and maybe just try to salvage something, become like the American Athletic Conference.
I think the Big 10 should go after Iowa State, and they'll probably pick up a Kansas for basketball. That's what I'm thinking.
Doesn't the Big 10 have like the most stringent academic standards of any Power 5 conference? Isn't that like?
I think that's actually the Pac. I think they have the highest academic standards.
Okay,
on average, yeah. I know that the Big 10 network for a while was the most profitable of all the conference deals. I don't know. I'm sure that this changes that.
I don't know if this helps, but I got into Northwestern, so for graduate school, I didn't go. I went to Kentucky instead. Hey, I don't know if you guys saw this in the chat, but Bo is great. Says, hey guys, thanks for bringing Philip Marshall to the show.
I did see that.
He's looking old except for his highlighted tips. Hey guys, it's not Philip. I was glad to be here, guys. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I was talking to P. Marsh earlier. He's a really good friend of mine.
What? So if Oklahoma and Texas are no longer in the conference, then even if they scrap together some, no names. Let's say they grab SMU and Boise and maybe 2 others. Now they can actually make a TV deal that shares the wealth equally instead of having to consider the feelings of the Texas and Oklahoma.
But you're assuming they can keep everybody else they have right now, and I don't think they can be, Will. That's the thing.
Gotcha.
I think Oklahoma State is really pissed. And that's a good program with a lot of money.
Absolutely.
Kansas definitely got some good things going with them. Not football, but other things.
Right.
So there's teams out there. Yeah.
Talk Courts ask about the possible of 2 SEC networks. I guess one, assuming they don't go to the pod format, one covering one division, one covering the other. I doubt it.
I don't see that.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do with the Longhorn Network, but they'll have to find a way to salvage it somehow.
No, it goes away. It goes away. And under this revenue sharing model, I mean, that was the thing that a big part of the reason that the Big 12 was almost done in is they got the Longhorn Network, and it was like a last straw for Texas A&M. right? Like what?
Yeah,
You're gonna
yeah.
let them get their own network? We're out. Right?
If they keep their network, then I understand A&M's point altogether.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Don't ever understand their point.
I have to, because they should not. Because again, it's all ESPN, so they're going to dissolve that. They're going to figure out a way. And we heard that their network wasn't doing all that great anyway.
They have to know. They have to know coming in that their network's in trouble. I mean, you come into the SEC world and you don't have the same cachet because this league's got a lot of dudes like Texas, right?
And who are better.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, we're at near the halfway point. We got some giveaways. Mike G will tell you how you can get in where you fit in. Mike G, take it away, sir.
Hey, first and foremost, tonight's Wednesday Night War Room is brought to you by auburnsports.com. That's our guy, G Tate and the company. Go check them out for all your recruiting news. Also, if you're looking for some additional engagement, the Bunker is a great place to yell at people and talk football simultaneously. So go over to the Bunker, check them out. I have a lot of fun over there with JG and the gang. Other than that, listen, become an insider. We are growing fast here at the War Rapport, as evidenced by our partnership with JG and the gang at auburnsports.com. Become an insider to help support the work that we're doing. We got a lot of exclusive content that we're going to be bringing you guys in the fall. A lot of it will be insider only, so you want to make sure you get on that boat, particularly for all my football nerds, the Monday night film review, which I am super happy to bring to you guys, where we will be breaking down film every week after the game on Monday nights to just see what happened, see why we're mad, why we're sad, and why we were hopeful or not. So you don't want to miss that. Become an insider. We're partnered with the Lee County Humane Society to help save puppies. Go to our the About section of our YouTube channel. Find this link. Donate 50 cents on every dollar goes to help them in their mission to save all the puppies in the world. So is our merch store. Our merch store is live. You can find this link in the About section of our YouTube channel. And if you missed it at the top of the broadcast, we are giving away some artwork by our guy, James Coleman. That's War Eagle in the comments. Extremely talented artist. He's been drawing these pictures for us. We're framing them up, polishing them around, and giving them away to you. So if you want a chance, hashtag Heisman7. Don't forget the hashtag Heisman7 in the comments to enter. I'm looking here. We got 70 people already entered at the halfway point. So I'd love to see 150 people get in on this thing so we can draw at the hour mark.
Appreciate that, sir. JG, we got to talk about some things specific to Auburn. Media Days.
Yes, sir.
Media Days is in the books. Brian Harsin has actually spoken to the press. He's introduced himself. What were your takeaways from how he did? Of course, I think Bo and Owen Papo did a good job representing Auburn as players. So proud of them for the job they did. But what were some of your thoughts with Harsin when he spoke at SEC Media Days?
Right. Some people see him as boring. My attitude is that he's not boring. I think he's actually a very calculating and careful person. And he's the guy, his brand is tenacity. His brand is being focused on the game. We're going to talk ball. We're going to make you a better football player. You're going to come to a small town in Auburn, and we're going to inundate you with football. And you're going to walk out of this place a really good football player, can go to the NFL and make a lot of money, or be educated and make a lot of money, which I think Auburn can definitely do with these kids. It's a great institution. So he kind of rolled up there with that on his mind. And that's the way that he talks to recruits. That's the way he talks to his players here at Auburn. That's the way that he dealt with things at Boise. And I think that's his message. That's who he is. That's what he's trying to portray. A guy who's really big on details and who cares about working hard and getting better at playing football. That's what I saw at Media Days. And I think that's exactly who he is. So Auburn people who might say, hey, Shane Beamer had better sound bites. Elijah Drinkwitz had better sound bites. That ain't Harsin. Harsin's here to work, and that's what he does, and that's what he did. My view.
Yeah, I didn't get bored. I guess as someone who's followed Auburn for years, given the previous coach we had, what we got from Harsin is more than I could expect previously. Right. And I was surprised. I was kind of surprised. And that's where you can do a Gusism by that. That was an alley-oop to you, JG. So yeah, I felt like he did say a lot. I was surprised by the comment he made about when asked about his experience going to Auburn in 2013. He didn't have to say that at all. He could have kept that to himself. But
yeah. Can we talk about that for a second?
Yes.
Yeah. Can we talk about this for a second, JG, please?
Heck yeah. You want me to just kind of lay it out for you, Mike G?
Yes, 100%.
So he just kind of voluntarily said when they were asking about Gustav and had the fact that he's followed him at 2 schools now, he was like, yeah, 13, we had agreed to wear the gray jerseys as the road team that Malzahn had made, but they didn't have a chance to use them. And he said it would be fine. And then we show up at Auburn and we got flagged 15 yards first and second half because we didn't have uniforms that conform to the rules. Because Gus didn't stand up for what he had said before. Kind of made Gus look bad, and I had a feeling Mike G would not be very happy with that.
No kind of.
So just so that we're clear on the record here, is that gamesmanship or is that douchebag shit?
Well, I just didn't remember. I just in the moment,
No, got it. Douchebag shit. He's a douchebag.
Okay.
Right?
I'll let you say it, bro.
Yeah, that's a douchebag move. That's Bush League. That is amateur hour.
Now that Gus is gone, I can say he's kind of a friend of mine, but yeah.
I mean, that's a douchebag move anyway. You made an agreement. You looked another man in the eye and you made an agreement or over the phone. So maybe hypothetically in the eye.
The next time I see Gus, I'm going to let him know how I feel about that. And I'm going to do it in front of Christy too and make sure she knows.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. Did you need the 15 yards against Arkansas State? The 30 yards?
I'm here for the advantages. I got to win games.
Yes. I don't know, man. I don't like it. Honestly, and
I didn't like it.
Subtly, what kind of message does that send to the young men that you're supposed to be a leader and setting an example for? That your word doesn't matter? Like, I just have a hard time unless somebody can sell to me that that's some sort of gamesmanship. Should Harsin have known better? Right?
Yeah, it makes Gus look bad. D Lucky says we all have friends that do stupid stuff. Agreed. Love you, D Lucky.
Yeah.
And Todd C says it also shows how big of a jerk Gus was. That was a jerky move. Absolutely. I'm going to ask Gus about it.
Hey, listen, please report back when you do.
I'll tell you what, I'll text him right now and we'll see what he says.
Okay, perfect. Listen, I've been told that there's a chance he's watching.
Well, if that's your buddy, I know he's watching. So Chase H asked, does this mean Harsin is the next coach at UCF? For us, I'm a hope not.
Yeah,
okay?
I mean, things didn't go good here. So,
that means he didn't get the job done here. Is what I'm gonna take that as.
Yeah, that's not
I know that's tongue in cheek, Chase, but yeah. So again, I thought Harsin did everything he was supposed to do in media days. He basically signaled a culture change, which is basically what he's supposed to be doing since he's set foot at Auburn, right? And he just talked about his expectations, being a tough team, being a prepared. Like, these are things that we've been clamoring for in recent years. And so it was good to hear it. Of course, we would love to see it, more importantly, on Saturdays, but he's at least saying all the right things, JG. What do you think about that?
Yeah, he's definitely saying the right things. He's big on competition, which I know Mike G's fired up about, because I think a coach should be.
Yeah.
And although I've been skeptical of some of the things Mike G has said about Bo, you've been a little hard on him, but most of it's been fair. He hasn't earned anything. I don't think he's earned anything. I'm of the opinion that unless you're Aaron Rodgers and you've been the starting quarterback for 12 or 13 years, that's a different deal. Bo hadn't been that. So, yeah, come into the season and compete. And if he wants to mention Grant Lloyd and people get upset about it, hey, man, that's how they work. You got to earn your spot. Bo Nix has to do it too. By the way, Malik's doing great.
Facts.
Yeah.
Is that facts or nah? Yeah, the answer is facts.
Facts. Malik,
yeah.
Although Malik, a lot of that's on Malik. And he would tell you that if he had him on the show. I've talked to him about it myself. He wasn't in the right mindset, but there's things that could have been done to help him get in the right mindset. I will say that. But he acknowledged his role in some of the things that went on at Auburn. Anyway.
Well, what do you and again, do you think more of it, like when he alluded to culture change, right? He was asked about the culture and what he observed. Again, these are other things he didn't have to mention. So when you talk about trying to figure out why guys are actually showing up late or not finishing drills, what do you think? What do you think the angle was there with him? Just basically just saying, hey, things have changed here at Auburn under my watch.
I think it's an accurate assessment of what's been going on, that he felt like there was a little bit of a double standard going on at Auburn under Gus. My answer to that would be that Gus, people talk about how strict he was and how weird he was, but I think that he was generally a player's coach. Players liked him by and large. And I think part of that was because he sided with players a lot. I mean, Duke Williams, he would have been gone. Most coaches would have kicked him off the first or second time he did some of the stuff he did, but Gus didn't do that. Gus liked Duke, and he understood where Duke was coming from, and he tried to give him a lot of chances. Gus gave people a lot of chances. And I think sometimes that led him to having double standards for certain players and not others. I don't think he meant to do it that way, but he just kind of did. Harsin, and now these guys are pretty much straight up. You got to work, and I think that's good. I do think that's good. We'll just see how if they act that way in 4 years. That's the thing. That's the trick.
Right.
It's easy to do that in the beginning. It's hard to do that 4 years from now when it's all your dudes, guys you recruited. You know what I mean? The promises you made along the way, you got to keep them, and we'll see how it works.
Players seem pretty outspoken about a lot of the changes, like the difference in culture and what they're being asked to do on and off the field. They've been all noting very publicly that this is very, very different than what they've been accustomed to under the last coach. So
yeah, I think the big change is Pittman, is the strength and conditioning guy at Auburn, and he's more of a traditional football. Let's be a powerful team that runs people over, which wasn't what Ryan Russell was doing. But as I mentioned on your show many months ago,
you did.
He's working for a guy, and he's doing what Gus tells him to do. He's like a chef at a restaurant. And you're working for the boss. And if the boss says make it this way, then you make it that way. I think Ryan Russell could have made Auburn bigger if the head coach had wanted him to. So Harsin has some pretty traditional values as far as what he wants his offensive linemen to look like, what he wants his defensive linemen to look like, big hulking monsters that are very strong, and they're getting that way. And I think these players are used to that in their high school systems. That's what they were taught. That's what they were trying to be. It was a little bit different, I think, with Ryan Russell for reasons I just mentioned. But now they're back to a more familiar paradigm as far as strength and conditioning goes, and I think they liked it a lot.
Realistically, what in your opinion? I don't know if we've asked you, JG, but in year one, what do you need to see to say, you know what? I see improvement here. I see the tables turning in favor of Auburn. What are some things that you need to see from Harsin in year one under this team that lets you know, hey, we're moving in the right direction?
All right, I want to see, number one, I want to see spirit. I want to see guys that when they get down, they're fighting harder, and guys that when they get their butt beat, they're down 0-28 against some goober team like, say, Texas A&M, that they don't quit. I'm not saying the last team quit. I mean, I'm just saying I want to see a team that goes double hard when they're in that situation instead of just trying to grind through. I want to see spirit, and I want to see belief. That's the number one thing I want to see. The number two thing I want to see is intelligent adjustments on the offensive side of the ball. I think Kevin Steele did a fine job last year. It's my opinion. I think he was really good. I thought the offensive strategy was weak for a while, and I suspect that Harsin and Bobo are going to be better as far as that goes. I want to see it. When somebody is jamming up Auburn's run game, I want to see them go to a different concept and beat them with it. I think they could do it. They've got an All-American tailback. They got a quarterback that I think they can unlock some potential out of him. Those are the two things I want to see: spirit and thoughtfulness on the offensive side of the ball. Mike G, what are you looking for?
I'm looking for. You said spirit. I'm just looking for that dog, right? I'm looking for some guys who are finishing plays, going after it, doing all that weird stuff that Jay-Z's doing right now. Like, I'm looking for that, right? I'm looking for things to get very, very, very competitive. And I'm looking for Harsin to, kind of rustle some feathers, man, and make some guys uncomfortable. Right? I think that a lot of players have had it way too comfortable. And now that people's jobs are going to be on the line, and we're being told from the inside that, listen, the message that's being sent is nobody's job is safe. Nobody's job is safe. So you are going to fight every day in practice for your spot, or you're going to sit the hell down. And I love that. I think that it mirrors a little bit more of the attitude that you see at some of the more successful programs where, guys are starting to focus on the everyday consistencies that produce winners. And what we're finding out is that there wasn't a lot of consistency in the way some things were handled, and it produced an inconsistent result on Saturdays. Sometimes it was great. Sometimes it was not so great. And I think that most of us would just take the slow climb, kind of like what Bruce Pearl did with the basketball team. Over, the 1 year instant success, only for our expectations to do nothing but fall off after that. Because by all intents and purposes, our basketball team had a pretty mediocre year last year, but nobody's calling for their coach's job.
That's right.
It's not even in question. You know why? Because whether he can develop or not is not in question.
Right.
So what I'm looking for is I'm looking forward to Harsin producing some of the consistencies that don't allow us to question his process, no matter what the record is, unless the wheels are falling off the wagon completely and we have a losing record. If we had an 8-win season, nobody's saying it does feel like we're on the cusp. Okay, that didn't exactly go our way, but you know what? This guy knows what he's doing. He gets a couple more recruits, SEC championship. I believe, JG said something important earlier, that money isn't really the issue. You can't figure out why we're not spending it. Now, let me tell you, that was a question that we asked Alan Greene straight up. I didn't pull any punches in that interview. Caesar and I asked him, or I cannot ask him. Yeah, we said, hey, listen, is there a plan to financially support this new coach to help him expand his recruiting footprint?
And he said yes, right?
Well, he said they didn't even have to talk about it. He said, we don't have to talk about it. The expectation is Auburn is that you're here to win championships. That means going to get the best athletes in the country and in the world, wherever they are. Now, I don't have to tell anybody that we have been massively getting outspent in recruiting while also losing the battle at home in our own footprint for recruits. The head-to-head battle with Alabama, we're losing in state. We've been losing it. They're getting their pick of the athletes here and abroad. That can't be the case anymore. If you're not going to win at home, you need to go find some 4 and some 5-star talent elsewhere and bring them in. And then what does Harsin do, right? One of the first guys he lands is a 4-star from way outside our recruiting footprint.
Yeah.
So I think he gets it. Right? Like, I think he gets it. And so I think that, I wondered, and I don't have any inside information, if the amount of money, what I was trying to ask him without asking him during that interview is the amount of money, because he said that I asked him, I said, why did we pay $21 million to get rid of Gus? And he said, when we evaluated the program, there wasn't the hope around it that one might look for. And I wondered if that lack of hope led to lack of dollars being invested into what they were doing. If you already feel like it's a bad investment, do you just keep sinking money into it? So I'll be interested to see if Harsin pulls off 9 wins this season and then beats one of these, either LSU, Bama, or Georgia, somebody we've been losing to every year for a while. Especially if he goes on the road to LSU and gets the win.
Hadn't happened in a while.
Yeah, 20 years. What do those purse strings start to loosen a little bit in year 2? Right? I'm going to be really interested to see what the 2020 numbers even look like. I don't think we have the 2020 recruiting spend numbers. The last one we looked at was 2019 because reporting lags while they compile all that data. But yeah, it will be interesting to see again if either we're going to expand our recruiting footprint, or we got to start winning more at home, man. And the only way to win more at home is to win on the field on Saturdays.
Word.
And show kids why they should be choosing Auburn. Offensively, we have not been doing that. It's been a hard sell.
Right.
If you're a quarterback or wide receiver, I don't know why you would have chosen Auburn over the last year.
Offensive linemen.
Yeah.
They have no reason to come here.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm looking for just some consistency. That was a long way of saying I'm looking for some consistency and everything.
Hey,
Literally.
Auburn gets outspent, but I don't think they get out earned. I think Auburn has as much money as these other folks, but they just don't spend all of it on the way that you would think that they should. And when I asked Alan Greene that question, the answer didn't make sense to me. It sounds to me like maybe the answer didn't make a whole lot of sense to you either.
Yeah, what he said was that there's a budget, right? And the budget is not infinite. So, the coaches are given the latitude to spend that budget how they please. So when I heard that, this is not him talking, this is me talking. I'm thinking we had the 6th highest paid coach in college football. We also were like top 10 in staff spend too. We had the tie for the highest paid assistant in Kevin Steele. And I mean, we spent just about as much as anybody on coaches. So, while we're getting this mediocre result, the spend on coaches is going up and up.
That's right.
Yeah.
So where's the return on investment?
And I think that's part of the issue. I'm speculating too because I know nothing. We're just parsing what we took from Alan Greene's interview and these reports that JG mentioned at the beginning. But so if you've had these mediocre seasons, like 2019 was a okay year. We were a quarterback away from a fantastic season.
Right.
So we lose that game at the bowl game. We lose the next year's bowl game. What if we dial it back? I guess what I'm wondering is, what if we were paying so much for coaches and staff that we were really outspending what we had to spend? The hope around the program had been drying up because people were starting to see a pattern here. So some of that fundraising slows down, but you're still on the hook for paying this guy everything that's in his contract and his coaches too. So what if we were really overextending ourselves? And now that the new coaching staff has come in, he's like, hey, listen, I get it. You want to do a lot of stuff. Look at the books. The books are red because we were overpaying for a coach. We were overpaying for the staff because the results weren't what we were paying out. So we're behind. And I've got to dial this back. Like you said, JG, he dialed it back before COVID, right?
He did. Yes, 10% cuts in the summer of 2019.
Do you think he was just still taking his marching orders from his boss that was no longer there?
Great question. Yes, there is a problem there that he was hired by Leith to be an AD for a president who was very heavy-handed in athletics, because that's what Leith was. Currently, he works for a guy in Jay Gouge who is not heavy-handed in athletics. So it's almost like he's working for the wrong kind of guy. He's kind of a pro-style quarterback in a dual-threat offense in a sense, and I wonder if that's part of the problem. But regardless, I just don't think he's going to be the AD a whole lot longer. I just think it's untenable. I think he's too unpopular. I don't think that at this point, the fact that the general's working in the athletic department and there are coaches that we talk to who are reporting to the general, they're no longer dealing with Allen. It's a perfectly Auburn situation, and I just feel like Allen's got to go. As much as I like him, I just think the situation's untenable for him, and I think he knows it.
Man, that sucks.
Blake R says Stephen Leith was the worst president ever.
As somebody who was working on
possibly
I like it, Blake. You're not. I don't think you're wrong.
That is a sentiment
By that estimate
of the staff and faculty as well.
Yeah,
he was very he liked dissent. But I tell you what, he didn't like Bruce Pearl very much, and Allen really stepped in and
I didn't know about this. But at this point, I don't think Allen's super popular with basketball either. So, whatever happens there.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I look at it, I'm just thinking winning, and we just can have a process that creates some of the hope that he said we were missing. I really believe it'll start to solve a lot. Winning solves a lot of myriad of problems. So, you get on there, top 10 recruiting classes we've averaged over the last, since ever Gus has been here. So there is talent. There is talent there. And I think that Harsin took over a reasonably talented team.
Agree. This team has, if they maximize what they have, it's a pretty good ball club. I mean, they're going to win some games.
Yeah, right. So you take that talent and you do 1 to 2 wins better a year than the last guy.
Which is 8-ish, right?
It's about nine wins.
About 9. It's
9 wins,
9.
right? Yeah. You stop getting your ass kicked by Georgia and Alabama every single year.
I mean, if you lose a game, you lose it knowing that you were actually in it, right? Like it's one of those things to where I'm tired of asking, do I really want to watch the second half because I know how this is going to play out? Like,
right. Yeah.
Like I'm ready for before we get to the giveaway. I just want to see to what you said, Mike. I want to see a dog. I want to see spirit, JG. If we get hit in the mouth because that happens, again, I think Bobo and Harsin are going to do a good job of preparing the offense. But sometimes the opposing team has a better game plan initially, right? Sometimes they have a better plan of attack and it works. What does this team do? When they get hit in the mouth, do they taste their blood and start swinging back, or do they just fall to the mat? And do we make adjustments as the game goes on, right? Or do we just continue to run up the middle on first down? Or do we continue to do whatever it is that's not working in the game plan? Do we just go away quietly? Like I just want to see spirit. I want to see a team that fights. And even if we lose, I know that we didn't lay down for our rivals. Like I can live with that.
Yeah, listen,
I can live with that.
This, one thing that they can do to inject some hope into this program is figure out what the hell we're doing at quarterback quickly, right? And I'm telling you right now, it doesn't. No matter who it is, we just need to look like we're moving forward in that area.
Word.
Right? I think in terms of development, that is the one position that Gus left rock bottom for Harsin. And in my mind, there's nowhere to go but up from what he got left.
Hey, man. So, anybody else sick of losing to Georgia?
Yes.
I mean, I'm so sick of seeing Auburn lose to Georgia.
The way that we're losing to Georgia.
Yeah. It's not just the loss. Yeah.
It's the way we're losing.
It's when we beat them, it's a miracle of some sort. And when they beat us, it's a beatdown.
It's Georgia, man.
Yeah.
I mean, let's get down to the real serious talk here. This is not Alabama, it's Georgia.
Well, even with them, JG, tell me, in 2019, did you even after that win, did you believe that we were the better team in that game?
No comment.
Okay, all right. There you go.
I was glad to knock out the playoff.
A non-answer answer.
That's one thing in Alabama, they have all the number 1 picks, but Georgia, I don't understand that, man.
Yeah. So, it's time to move forward.
We got a rivalry we do here at the Auburn site on the Rivals Network with our friends at UGAsports.com, which is also on the Rivals Network. We're going to have a rivalry going, and they talk a lot of smack at us because Georgia beats Auburn pretty much every year, except for 17, rather. And I'm just kind of tired of it because I don't feel like Auburn is second. I don't feel like Auburn should be second fiddle to Georgia all the time. And the team doesn't look like it. And I know the schools don't look like it. And I don't understand why Auburn loses to Georgia so much.
And we have had years where Georgia was down and we lost to them.
Yeah.
Anyway, not to beat the dead horse. We got a giveaway. Mike G, take it away, sir.
Oh man.
How many do we got? Sir?
We got 80 people. Hashtag Heisman7 in the comments here. I'm going to give everybody a few more seconds to jump in before we draw this thing. People, these drawings are real. These giveaways are real. We actually send these out. Ask anybody who has received a t-shirt, mug, a signed photo. We have more things. And if you haven't been watching us, we're giving away 2 tickets to the Akron game. First game of the Brian Harsin era, Jordan Hare. So if you're an insider, you're already entered into that. And I'm looking forward to giving those away. So hashtag Heisman 7 in the comments here. I see we just jumped up another few.
90.
Can I get 100 people in this thing? If you have not done it, we got almost 300 people tonight. This is amazing.
We're drawing at a hundo.
Yeah, we'll draw at 100. If I can get 100 people in here, we will roll this. We'll mail this out to you guys. Jimmy Tinsley and Gabrielle, we got your pictures out to you. Congratulations. They were some of our recent winners. I got 99. Oh, man, listen, you guys are fantastic here. As soon as it hits 100, we are rolling. I think this is where I'm going to set it every week. We need 100 entries every week into this thing. 101. Let's roll it. Who's it going to be tonight? Who's it going to be tonight?
Well, I see some all-stars right there. I see some names going by.
You know what?
Desmond Porter.
Desmond.
DP.
DP.
Congratulations. Now, listen, this is what we're going to do. We need to see you respond. But if we don't see you, we're not going to draw right. We're not going to redraw right away.
Exactly. Yeah.
We are going to do something a little different there. So, Desmond, we're going to give you some time, especially if you're a little bit behind us. We're going to give you some time to show up. Now, if we get to the end of the show and we still don't hear from you, we are redrawing.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we're going to make it a little bit more fair because some of you guys are lagging behind. So, Desmond, you can keep entering this drawing if Desmond doesn't show up.
So yes, for those of you who didn't win,
hashtag
he doesn't respond, keep dropping the hashtag and hope that he's logged off. All right. So
I want to ask JG something.
Heck yeah.
We were chatting on Twitter, and I said, "Hey, looks like it's official. They've requested OU and UT. They're coming on board. 2025, their deal is up." And you said, not so fast. What could transpire so that we get that Texas and Oklahoma in the SEC the same year the 12-team playoff starts?
Hey now, I am told from a source at Oklahoma. Now, I'm just going to say this one time. I went to high school in Oklahoma. I went to high school in Tulsa. I have a lot of friends at OU. Some of them have money now. I don't, but they do. I had one of them tell me that there was a way that Oklahoma felt like they could negotiate their way into a fine. It wouldn't be a big deal. It wouldn't be expensive to get out in 2023. So that's kind of what I've been thinking. I've seen that pop up a few times in the reporting. I think Ross Dellinger wrote that at one point. You know, Delly used to cover Auburn. I met Delly when he was writing about Auburn from the Decatur Daily. So he's now the Sports Illustrated guy. He knows everything. We love Delly. But I think I saw him report that as well. A few legitimate big-time people have written that. So I think 2023, Oklahoma feels like they can get out reasonably at that point, which means that Texas can too. So for me, that's the expectation that they start in 2 years.
Wow.
And Auburn plays Oklahoma in the SEC Big 12 Challenge this year in basketball, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Oklahoma's coming here, so that'll be awesome.
Wait, 2023 is the anticipated start of the 12-team playoff.
That is correct.
So they would come over.
B. Will's right
and
on the money there. Hell yeah, he's just thinking ahead.
This is gonna be insane.
Big brain on B. Will. Hell yeah, it is.
We're talking like 6 teams in the playoff. Except now, well, you know one thing that this does clean up though. This cleans up the whole the SEC doesn't play anybody out of conference. Our conference is 10 times better than every conference. So I don't want to hear any of that anymore. You wouldn't play anybody else either if you had Oklahoma and Bama and Georgia and LSU. And listen, who cares now? Like I don't want to hear anything else about that. We are ironclad. We are foolproof. You're not arguing against the SEC champion getting in, against the SEC runner-up getting in, against the third place SEC team getting in. Everybody's just got tickets stamped already. I love it. I
wonder what's the most teams any single conference has ever had in the top 10 of the rankings at one time. Right? Has anybody ever had more than 5?
Yeah, we've done it. Back when we were on that little run, right? From what was it?
More than 5 teams?
6 to 12. We did at some point. I want to say we definitely did.
Don't bring up 2012, B. Will.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I went in the hospital after that A&M game, and I'm not joking. That's not an apocryphal comment. The game against Texas A&M that was like 5,000 to 0.
That was a terrible night. Like that was a bad night. I think Jordan Hare cried itself that night.
I went in the hospital. My heart couldn't take it. I'm not joking. I was in the hospital for 2 days after that.
Oh man.
All right.
Yeah.
Glad you did.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I just think that top
Manziel.
10 could look. I think you could see 6 or 7 SEC teams in the top 10 at some point in the season.
I'm just saying. I think you're right. I
Yeah,
think you're
of a
right.
16-team playoff. So again, if you had SEC fatigue before, we apologize in advance.
I don't have SEC fatigue.
Oh,
I'm
I
ready
don't
to see
either.
Auburn getting there.
Yeah. I don't have it either. I'm just saying, outside of the conference, they complain a lot.
Walt has a question here. Does the SEC championship game go away after the 12-team playoff?
Great question right there, Walt. Great
Yeah.
question. I think that it does have to go. I do think it has to go. It's too many games.
It really is. And but how do you pick a winner? Just straight up?
If it's the pods, I guess.
If it's the pods, it would be tough to figure that out, right? 'Cause
Yeah, it would be
back
really
into
tough
that.
to figure that out.
It's going to be like the 1990 national championship where it was like Georgia Tech and Colorado, right?
Yeah.
It was like who voted for this guy and who voted for that guy. I hate that, but
I hate those.
there's too many games. I mean, you got to have they're going to the 9 SEC games, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And so now you're going to add a championship game, which is going to probably require semis, right? Because you're going to have 4 pods. You would say the champion in each pod would have to play, right?
Yeah, that they can do. If they went to pod, I don't see how you do that.
I don't see how you do
really
it. You're
don't.
right, C-Dub. I don't think that.
I don't see how you do that.
Yeah.
So they've got to go ahead and get 2 more. Really?
Or they have to go to divisions like you guys were posting earlier. Maybe that makes more sense. I don't know.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I think the divisions will mean that we play Tennessee and Florida more regularly.
Florida, we renew those rivalries and
Yeah,
probably
for
lose
sure.
LSU.
Yeah, I'd be excited to see Auburn play Florida a little bit more consistently.
I don't
Agreed.
want to LSU until we beat them. I don't want to run tail and go to the East with this losing streak at Death Valley, man. That's
I'm with you. I don't want to hear like we haven't beat them in 30 years. Like I don't want to hear that.
once every 5 years if we go to pods, but that's what it's going to be.
Yeah. Wow.
This is just me talking. It's my personal opinion. I would rather see Auburn, Florida more often than worry about LSU. It's just me. I think the Auburn, Florida series is better.
It's better. Yeah, it definitely is better.
And it's a better recruiting battle because Auburn's down in Florida all the time. Auburn's not in Louisiana a whole bunch, and they're not over this way very often. To me, I like Florida better. But
right. Yeah. I wonder too, in terms of seeding in a 12-team playoff structure where you have, 4 to 6 SEC teams, how that affects, politics come into play where they're trying to avoid rematches. Right. You've got conference champions versus an at-large, because can't stress enough, the model they were talking about had the five highest rated conference champions making it, I think, or 6. 6 highest rated. Was it 5?
The 5 highest rated.
5.
Right. Yeah. And so now,
and right. I don't know what the rest, like there was a group of 5 highest rated that was supposed to get in there.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot now. That seems like so long ago because.
Well, either way, you get rid of the Big 12, right? Is my point.
Yeah.
And then you've got one less conference to talk about, and who knows what else might get dissolved as a result of this, right?
But
does the pack grow? And I have so many questions about how convoluted this can get and if they're going to get it right, because it felt like we took a step in the right direction with a 14 playoff that a lot of people thought would never happen, and then it happened. And then the talk of expanding that, again, seemed like a very slow discussion, and then all of a sudden we blink, and now we may be headed to not an 18 playoff, but straight to a 12-team playoff. That's a lot of football for somebody. Now, JG, here's the thing that I before we move on, I wanted to address because we were talking about it. What does this do at the end of, in college football, it's pretty traditional that a lot of your biggest natural rivals are at the end of the season. They're some of the last games played.
Yeah, for
Iron
sure.
Bowl was the last game played, right? It wasn't last year, but still. And if you're Oklahoma in the SEC and you know you're making the playoff, whether you win the conference or not, because again, there's a scenario where the SEC championship game might actually go away.
It's a great question. I know where you're going.
Now, how much does that game? And you're playing Texas as your last game of the season. How much does that game matter? Are you taking an NFL approach? Are you resting guys? You have nothing to gain. You win the conference. Right.
I gotta think that you rest those guys. And not expose them to injury.
Injury at the end of the season, right?
I gotta believe it. I don't like the reality of it, but I'm saying if I'm the coach and I've got big game on the line, right? I got a natty. I got to get through. Was it 3 wins? I got to win 3 games in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm going to go full speed against Auburn or Alabama in the Iron Bowl. If I'm Auburn and I'm undefeated, and I've already got it wrapped up,
so it kills rivalries.
Potentially it does. Potentially it does. And I will say this: I don't want to bring soccer into this because you guys don't like soccer and nobody does. But in the Prem League, when the people have this stuff wrapped up, they stop playing their best players and they're willing to go with like.
Well, you see it in basketball.
You do see it in basketball. Right.
Yeah. The NBA is notorious for that.
Yeah,
right?
NBA is bad. It's like that.
We got a question here before we talk briefly about Big Cat. Auburn Dad, he asked twice. Sorry, I missed you the first go around. JG, if Greene does leave, do we go after Clemson's AD?
Right. So he's talking about Dan Radakovich, who should be Auburn's AD right now because he should have been hired when Jay Jacobs got hired. Him or my main man, Scott Etheridge. He should have been. Those 2 guys should have been the AD and ended up going to Jay Jacobs. I don't think that Dan Radakovich comes to Auburn. I think he's got a great job now. I think Clemson's going really well. I don't see any reason why he would come to Auburn. He doesn't have any particular love for Auburn. I mean, he likes Auburn, but he's not like an Auburn guy. So, no, I don't think he's the guy they go get. The thing is, here's the way this is going to work. The way things work in college athletics is the president hires the AD. So, Jay Gouge is on his way out. He's an interim guy. He was an interim guy. He's officially not now, but he's on his way out. They're looking for a new president right now. They will find one in the next, let's say, 12 months. By next summer, I would expect Auburn to have a new president. At that point, I think Alan Greene, his story will be written one way or another. So the new president will find somebody. And who knows who that president's going to be and what his particular preference is. If he comes from North Carolina, which Leith did, he had a North Carolina background. If he comes from California, I mean, who knows? It could be anybody. But I think the president, whoever the next president at Auburn is, I think that's once that hire is made, then he could start making thoughts or decisions about who he might hire. Because until then, we don't know. I think Rich McGlynn would be awesome as an AD, but we'll see. If Allen ends up leaving in the next 4 months, I think Rich McGlynn will be the interim AD. Book it. Book him, Dano.
Do you think is there a world where we have a surprise season? Not a fluky surprise season, like a legitimate, the defense is as solid as we expected once we saw what we brought in transfer. The offense actually clicks, whether it clicked for Bo. They got more out of the O-line than we thought they could get, whatever the case may be. I say 9-3. That's a little bit pie in the sky, but I also think we're just slept on a little bit because we had too much talent here. And let's say we get that 9-3, and that 9-3 comes with a Penn State win and a Georgia win. Is there a world where that makes everything better, smooths over the rough spots in the for the AD, and everybody can start playing nice because we got some momentum, we're building more revenue, we'll get a better bowl game, all that stuff? Is that, or is this thing just done? Is it done right now?
Is this relative to Alan Greene?
Yeah.
You know, I had somebody ask me that the other day. Somebody who would know, somebody who is embedded with a football program. And he said, I know he's unpopular, but if we win big this year, is what he said, is it going to be okay? No, I don't think it is. I think he's too unpopular across the board. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I think there's coaches that are small revenue, big revenue. There's a lot of people that just don't feel like Allen is in their corner, that he fights for them, that he really cares about them. And I think when you have, I mean, it's not like it's one coach who's bitter. It's a pretty wide variety of coaches, honestly. And again, I love Allen. I really, really do. I think he's a great guy. But for whatever reason, it just hasn't worked well here at Auburn. And
Well, how many of those coaches matter in this discussion?
Well, it depends on what you mean by matter and who. We could do 3 hours on this. Who really matters at Auburn?
The basketball coach.
I think Bruce matters at this point.
All right, we're talking about coaches. I thought we were talking about people that matter. Just people.
You're saying he's unpopular with the coaches. I'm saying how many of those coaches in those sports have has it have any weight in this discussion?
I don't
right?
want to get into that though.
Right. So I mean,
Put me in a
that's
bad
my thing,
situation.
right? I mean, I can think maybe swimming and diving, outside of all the Olympic sports.
I just imagine their voices gets louder when you tick off the wrong one. I think their voices then begin to matter because now it's compounding.
You're right.
We're possibly excluding Harsin from this conversation because he was maybe in some ways picked by Allen, right?
Absolutely.
For this job, right? So that leaves, the next biggest voice in this discussion is Bruce Pearl.
Right.
After that, again, maybe swimming and diving, the baseball coach, I know we just hired a new women's basketball coach. I'm thinking, of the revenue generating sports. Right. Does it matter that much at the end that these people could collude to say we don't like this guy, he's going?
All right, let's break this down, okay?
Okay.
So he went and hired Brian Harsin against the wishes of a lot of people at Auburn.
Okay.
A lot of important people at Auburn. And those people are not happy. They don't want Alan Greene to be the AD one more day. And so as a reporter, I got to kind of think about that. Okay, there's people out there that have an agenda who want Allen out, who want to create a stink to make him so unpopular that he's going to go. And I think some of that's happening. I think some of the people who are pissed off, money people who didn't want Brian Harsin, who wanted Kevin Steele, are pissed off. But even taking that into account, I still think he's so unpopular among people that they wouldn't care about. The people that money people wouldn't care about.
So if Harsin goes out and wins the SEC this year, I know that's a huge sunshine pump.
Yeah, huge.
But I'm hypothetically speaking, do you feel like the situation is so bad that not even that can change it?
No, I don't think so. In fact, I think this thing gets handled before that. I don't necessarily think he gets fired because I don't think he's done anything wrong. Like, he's just unpopular. He hasn't embezzled money. He hasn't had any affairs or anything like that. Allen's like a straight up dude. It's just that he's unpopular because of these reasons I told you guys earlier. He's been really tight with the money, and I don't really understand that. And I keep trying to figure that out, and I can't. And he's just very unpopular among a lot of people.
Coach, but that can't. And I guess that's why I struggle with that. Can't change, JG. I mean,
well, right. Where is the directive to be tight with money coming from?
That's what I'm talking about, and that's the question I asked, and I don't understand the answer that I got.
All right,
I don't want to get into any more detail.
There are other people. I always assume there are other people pulling those strings, the money strings.
Right. I would think it was Googe.
Right. So
but Googe is the one who sent the general over to the AD to look into things.
Right. Yeah. So
it ain't him.
Something stinks there.
Wall says too many bus rides. I may have to go with you there. Jeremy Redding asks, why Rich McGlynn, basically?
That's a good question. Rich, first of all, he designed the extrication of Cam Newton, right? So he was the guy that was involved with how are we going to deal with the Cam Newton situation. He's the one that said, I got an idea. Here's how we're going to do it. Got Cam back on the field, and obviously the rest is history. They won a natty. Now then, here we are 10 years later, 11 years later. Rich is still there. I don't think he's as unpopular as Jeremy says he is. He is a very I don't know where Rich is from. I should have had that conversation with him by now. But he's a very matter-of-fact, kind of a northern acting dude. And maybe some people don't love that about him, but he's a very competent individual. He came from the NCAA, so he knows recruiting, or he knows compliance really, really well. I personally think he would be a great AD. I don't think he's as unpopular as Jeremy says he is. That's all I'm saying. Now, he doesn't work with football. That is true. He doesn't really work with football. He works with basketball mostly. But, I mean, you kind of have to be one or the other in a way. Like, right? I mean, if you're going to be involved with NCAA compliance, you've got to kind of emphasize football or basketball because those are the two big sports at Auburn. He happens to like basketball better. He gets along with BP really well. And that's the answer I'd have for that one. Dave Didion works a lot with football.
Wow.
That's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Oh, check this out. A good question over here from Jerome D says basically they want an AD who's a puppet.
Yeah, that I mean, I want to believe that's not true.
I'm not saying he's wrong.
Yeah, but I would that doesn't, I mean, that sounds pretty typical of what we've become accustomed to in these discussions, right? Like, so somebody else is pulling the strings. If you're not dancing to that person's tune, then your days are numbered.
But welcome to Auburn 1995, dude. I mean, this is like when I got here in 97, this is what was going on, and it's still that way.
Yeah, I just wish we could just play football and win all the time.
Great question here from Andre Swain. Is Bama different? Is there a reason they've been so successful?
What I heard, JG, you are more knowledgeable, so let me guess, and then you correct me. Okay, so they absolutely would have been the same. It's just that Nick won very quickly.
Right. Yep.
And you get hands off. I call all the shots. Leave me alone. And it was too much winning, and then he was just bulletproof from there on out.
Yeah, I mean, again, when you win like that, there's not much you could say. Right. It would have to be an all-time arrogant. You know, it reminds me of God, who was the GM of the Bulls who essentially got
Jerry Krause.
Jerry Krause, right? You know, where you got Phil Jackson, you got an all-time coach in Phil Jackson, arguably the best coach to ever do it. And you're winning championships. You got the best player in the world, and ego gets in your way, and you break up. I believe the Bulls could have won 2 more championships had it not been for that whole let's go tear it down and rebuild it and prove that we don't need Phil and we don't need Michael. Right? Yeah. Like, you know, and so that's the way I'm kind of seeing this. I agree with B100%, right? They hired Saban, they dumped a bunch of money in his lap, and he just won. He won so fast that even if you weren't for it, what could you say? He's bringing in natties, and
which
then
is bringing in more money.
Yeah, and he just keeps doing it, and eventually he was not going to settle for anything less at that point than total control. He's running that organization. I believe personally that if there are very few people who could pull any strings over Saban at this point. He's written his check. There's not much he can do to get fired or lose his job other than behavior issues, right?
The hierarchy at Alabama is 2 people. It's Nick Saban and it's Paul Bryant Jr. That's it. Those are the only 2 people that have any real power at Alabama.
That's it. Right.
And in Auburn, it's a list of like 8 people.
Right. But how many?
And it's not Brian Harsin or Alan Greene. It
has not produced any championships in the last decade.
Right.
So, like, I mean, we've got to get to a point, man, where please just give this man a chance to do this job fairly. I don't care who hired him.
That's fair.
I don't care who hired him. Even if you wanted Steele, you cannot want to be in control so bad that you want to see the guy that we did hire fail.
Right.
So give this guy a chance. Don't tie his hands and just let's see if this can work. And don't set us back another 3 years.
I don't think his hands are tied. I really don't. I don't think Harsin's hands are tied right now. Again, I mentioned this earlier in the show. I think he's got a great recruiting setup, infrastructure, if you will. He's got a lot of people working for him. Mm-hmm. They've got money spent on people and just to get recruiting events put together like Big Cat last week. It was done very well, despite having only 2 weeks to get ready for it, which is a whole other conversation. I don't think his hands are strong. I think he's got a legitimate shot to go out there this fall and win some football games. And I think he will. I think they're going to be pretty good.
So Big Cat was a success then.
To me, it was. And I'm somebody who was kind of mocking it a little bit before because it was so hastily put together. But ultimately, they got a lot of 4-stars on campus. They got a commitment from a 4-star tailback, Damari Alston from Greater Atlanta. I like him a lot. He's a very engaging dude, and he's going to be out there recruiting a lot for Auburn. So that was good.
I heard are they really back in the hunt for Amari Kelly? Kid out of Trustville?
Yes, I think they're in the hunt for him. My question is, I think they want to get 2 wideouts, maybe 3. They've already got a commitment from Jay Fair out of Texas. They love him. So it's like, do they have room for 1 or 2? Their number 1 guy on their board is a kid out of Portland, Oregon.
Yes.
So, and I think Amari's a take. I think he's an automatic take. But I don't. There's a lot of teams after him. Alabama's after him as well. So we'll just have to see how this plays out. But I think their number one priority right now is the kid out of Portland. But he was there, Big Cat. Omari was interesting. He's a smart kid. I love talking to him, and I think he would be a great addition at Auburn. But if they add him and the kid from Portland, that's it, because Jay Fair's already committed. So we'll just kind of see how this thing plays out. But a lot of the coaches we talked to that were there at Big Cat.
Darius Clemens is the kid out of Portland. Again, that's a Harsin guy. He's a West Coast guy, not someone that Cornelius knew before this, but someone that Cornelius has talked to and really, really likes his tape, loves talking to the kid. I think he's an automatic take. He's the number one kid on their board. One last question, from Anthony Rudd. Other people asked earlier, what's going on with Caden?
So Caden's going to announce on August 1. He is from Lynette, Alabama, over there on the Georgia-Alabama border. If you guys have been to Frisky Whiskey, you know what I'm talking about. Yo. I think Caden, it's between Auburn and Central Florida for him. I think Auburn's leading. Even though it was very interesting for me to talk to him the other day, I had not met him before. Gus, of all people, Mike G, is his number one recruiter for Central Florida. That is his recruiting liaison. It is Gus Malzahn himself. I'm serious.
I'm just thinking about the other shows where you were like, so-and-so with Tomerville was all right. Harsin's going to recruit. Because, Gus, what is he going to say? I like Waffle House.
We'd love to have you down here in the Bounce House.
Oh, man.
I think Auburn's got a huge advantage here, and I think Auburn ultimately will get Caden Story. He's going to announce on Sunday, and he seems pretty committed to doing things on Sunday, so we'll see that then.
Gus can't win that recruiting battle.
I don't think so. He's visited Auburn 3 times, 1 time to UCF. He's a little thin. He's going to need to add some weight. He needs to eat a little bit and add a little upper body strength. But a lot of kids do at that age. To me, he has the physique that Nick Coe had at that same age, kind of a long, wiry dude. And that's somebody that Will Muschamp really, really liked. So
Pittman will get him right.
Yeah, Pittman will get him right. That's right.
Man.
Well, listen, I don't know if you guys saw Desmond Purder's name, and I'm pretty sure the people in the comment section will definitely say they didn't see it. So, Mike G.
I'm so sorry, Desmond.
DP. Did he fail? Oh,
yeah. We never saw him.
Re-rack it.
Re-rack that.
Please let this be one of the brain drain people.
Oh, Sherman, are you here?
Are you here? Now we can't wait. Now you need to hear from us.
We got to reroll. We will keep pulling until we get somebody. Sherman, still 284 people in here, so Sherman's got to be one of them, right?
Come on, no, I know there's a delay, but we need you to. He's here. He's here.
Sherman's a winner.
Yeah, listen, Sherman. Listen, thank you for being part of our community. business@thewarreport.com. That's business@thewarreport.com. Email us your address so that we can get your winnings out to you. This is one of my favorite things is just giving stuff away, right? When we give away these tickets to this Akron game, I am going to be massively excited for whoever wins. Coming off of no football, not being able to attend football last year, I feel really, really good about being able to send some of our listeners to the game on the War Rapport to see the first game of the Harsin era. And I'll tell you this: those won't be the last tickets we give away. So. You definitely want to become an insider so that you can get automatic entries in. Future contests will be insider only. This first one, we wanted to open up to everybody to give everybody a chance to win that. But our community is becoming massively important. It also provides a troll-free environment for us to be able to interact with each other and really, really commune with you guys over football.
Safe space.
Yeah. So sometimes we'll need to keep. I know that the channel is getting popular, guys, because Bama fans are starting to find our comment section.
Yeah,
Bama fans are starting to find. There was a Georgia guy in there. He was reasonable. We've got a few LSU guys in here. It's fun talking to people from other schools, but once Texas joins, I'm going to have a strict no Longhorn Bull rule, right? Yeah. Listen,
It almost
Matthew,
looks like a Longhorn tie over there, Jay.
Hey, now, no, this is.
oh, it's a little burnt orange there.
It looks a little burnt there, Jay.
I don't know.
I'm not worried about Texas right now. I have 2 years to worry about that, yo.
Kind of
Fair
sus.
enough. Fair enough.
Oh man. So yeah, I'm just like, yeah, the Longhorn again. You mentioned Matthew McConaughey, awful. Bevo, no thank you. All that. I don't want any part of it.
Hey, man, I went to high school in Oklahoma. I hate Texas. Like Oklahoma State hates Texas. Oklahoma hates Texas. I don't love them either.
Yeah. See, I see Bug Mac is with me here in the comments. Looks like Stephen Riley is with me. Yes, let's start a Texas hate train in the comments, guys.
I want you to hate Texas
Hashtag
like
hate
Lawrence
Texas
Robinson
in the
hates
comments.
Chad Morris.
Yeah.
Right?
Hashtag hate Texas. We don't want them. Go back where you came from.
Oh man. Well, listen, guys, we want to thank you for tuning into the Wednesday Night War Room, which is brought to you, of course, by the good folks at auburnsports.com. Guys, please always check them out when you need the latest and greatest updates as far as recruiting and other information related to Auburn athletics. And please be sure to share this video, guys. Share the video. If you're on social media, add us. If you're on Twitter, use hashtag Get Your Weight Up. You know what to do there. Also, guys, please like and subscribe to us on the YouTube channel. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at The War Rapport. We're also TW Rapport on TikTok. JG, it's always a pleasure to have you on. Thanks for hanging out with us, man. Spending so much time with us. We appreciate you, brother.
I love what you guys do. Seriously. I mean, this channel's absolutely awesome. Love what you guys do.
Thanks so much, brother. Thanks so much. And we thank you for you guys hanging out with us. We will definitely see you guys soon. But until then, and as always, where you go?
There you go.